Well, there's a particular question that has been in the air for quite some time, for several months now. And I've been asked that question. I don't know why people ask me these things, but they keep asking me, what's your situation with Shane Dowrich? And my response has been pretty much the same all along. But maybe now I can be in a position maybe to help people find some of those answers because I managed to track down Philip Nicholls, who is representing Shane Dowrich on some cricket-related matters right now. And he seems to have maybe some of the answers that people are concerned about regarding Shane Dowrich, who um, came back into the Barbados side quite recently, looked very good. In fact, I think he looked refreshed in scoring a half century in the opening game. Philip Nicholls, I don't know how much of that innings you saw, but I was quite impressed.
I saw a lot of the innings. I also saw him behind the stumps, and he appeared, back to his normal self. But that's the issue that I've been trying to raise with Cricket West Indies, the question of whether he is selected for West Indies team is a matter for the selectors. No one is demanding that he be played. That is a matter for the selectors and their judgment as to whether he suits the bill at the time. But the problem is that right now, and I say this without fear of correction, as far as I know, Dowrich is not eligible for selection because Cricket West Indies have deemed that until the medical panel passes him fit, he can't be picked. Now, all of us saw him play this week, last 4 days, few days. I don't think anything looked wrong with him. So unless they know something that we don't know, I am not too sure why there's this insistence.
He certainly looked the part, and the discussion around the ground and elsewhere, people are already looking at various options. Some people suggest that he could possibly even get back in the side as a batsman. But the whole issue of being of eligibility, I find that baffling, though. I mean, tell me a bit more about that. Why would he not be eligible?
Well, as is well known, Dowrich returned home early from New Zealand, and it was stated that he returned for personal reasons. But most people remember that he didn't finish the test match because he had suffered a finger injury. And the two were linked. Well, it doesn't take a whole year for your finger to repair. Suffice it to say that he was facing other challenges that I think bubble life has affected not only him, but many other athletes in all sports. And we have seen all these stories. It is not an easy life. I mean, we complain about doing this and doing that, but imagine if you were working in a lab or you were working in an office, and when you wake up in the morning and pull the blinds, you see your office there. That's what's happening virtually to them when they're on tour, in many cases, because they are, I wouldn't say subjected, for all the reasons that we understand to limit the chance of the virus spreading. They are accommodated right over the cricket ground. So you can't get a break. And it does have an effect on people. Different people react differently.
There are those who would want to say, well, the guys are getting good money, et cetera, et cetera. But I'll share something with you. I have been told by friends who are in various professions, but in my field and other fields, that let's say teachers, for example, there's some teachers who have told me that they prefer to get up and go to the school and do their virtual
online teaching,
teaching from there.
Because
because obviously there's no real danger because the school doesn't have the school doesn't have a whole set of people around, so it's not a safety issue as such. So because they want to have that feeling that there's a start to the day and there's an end to the day, and then you go home and you have some time then to focus on other things. And many people, both teachers and office workers and other people, business people, have been saying that when you're working from home, sometimes the day doesn't have an end.
He doesn't have
You know, so I understand. I just mentioned that to show you that I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Well, that's interesting because there's no discussion worldwide about an employee having the right to disconnect from
Mhm.
his work. In other words, to say, well, that's the office phone. After 4:30, I don't answer it,
Mm.
and that is a right. That's a fervent discussion around the world because it has affected persons' health. Anyhow, so there is. I think what was important is that when he returned home from New Zealand, he
Mhm.
did so with the blessing of Cricket West Indies. And now that he has recovered and is ready to rejoin, some issues have arisen as to how that process should go forward. And the point of disagreement, there is one point of disagreement, is what they're saying compared to uh, what he feels should have been done. And it's not a straightforward answer, but because of that, he has been in limbo for the last 6 months.
Mhm.
Um, when and also, to be fair, I have to say is that the pandemic has caused problems. There was no cricket. If the regional cricket had started in September, October, I'm sure he would have played.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, because he did go to the States and play some T20 cricket.
Yeah, I heard as much. Yes. Yeah.
And so that is really, as I said, I'm waiting to hear from them. I'm sure Shane is waiting even more that whether he is going to be able to be considered for selection. That's all he wants to know.
Well, it would be sad though, really. I can't speak to any legal issues. I can't speak to the procedural matters. All I can say is
Mm.
where procedural matters are concerned is that I've argued for many years, or I shouldn't even say argued, I've pointed out for many years that we're not really fully understanding of the management of professional sport in this part of the world. Because what you're talking about really is a non-issue in the NBA, is a non-issue in any part of the world where there's professional
Mm.
sport. Players come and go and are on leave and all sorts of things happen to them, and you don't get these basic issues that are so problematic. So
Well,
I think it all supports what I've been saying, that when it comes to the management of professional sport, we've still got a lot to learn.
I would agree with that, and I mean the approach I've taken with Cricket West Indies on this is, look, let's try and see what is best, not only for him, but for the next player who will have this problem too. Because in this present state of affairs, someone will.